What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to Breaking News. The SBA declines my 24 months of working capital. Happy Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th, 2021. What? Please do me a huge favor, give this video a thumbs up. Hashtag Eidl with your comments below. Boy, oh boy, did you see the poll I did about 3 hours ago on Twitter at Try Small Biz? Make sure you follow me over there. Try Small Biz. I asked, over 500 of you have voted, do you think that Big J, Uncle Jason, is getting approved or declined? 82.1% said approved, 17.9% said decline. The latter is actually correct. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know what is the exact formula for the 24 months of working capital, what is the one mistake that I made that cost me big time in this year's 24 months of working capital, when is the blue button going to get here to fund now, and who's going to get it? And will there be a reconsideration process for those that get declined? So pull up a chair, grab a cup of coffee, ice cold beer, margarita. Here we go. I can hear some snowflakes now. Oh, yeah, yay! Jason got declined. We hate that guy. Look, there was no malicious intent. Obviously, there's no favoritism being shown towards yours truly. Some of you thought, oh, they're going to throw him a bone because he's raised in hell. No. It was an actual mistake that I made. Some of you are going to be in the same boat. I'm going to explain how we get through this madness. By the way, this thing is still floating. I turned 51 on April 13th. Almost a month now. It's still floating. So thank you to my sister. She lives right down the road. I love her. By the way, it's 79 degrees and I get my new air unit tomorrow. You may have seen me in a prior video. Lennox has no coils. There's no coils anywhere in the country. So if you have to have your air conditioner fixed and it's not a Freon deal, you got to actually buy a whole new unit. And that takes a week to get here. So tomorrow morning, hopefully, by about 9 o'clock, the air is going to start to come down and I won't look like I'm sitting in a sauna. So ladies and gentlemen, let me set the table before I go through a 20-minute phone call that's jam-packed with information on the formula. What is this 25% variance? What are you going to have to do to win in reconsideration? I'm going to answer all that today. But let me just set the table. Many of you know this, some of you don't. I went bankrupt in 2008. I was living in South Florida. I was living La Vida Loca. I had a fleet of cars. I had $500,000 of cash and jewelry in just about every room of the house. I had a 28-foot speedboat power play with twin 502s that I'd race on the Atlantic Ocean. But I was also laying on the floor, marble floors, flopping around like a fish out of water, having panic attacks because every month I had to come up with $25,000 on 100% commission just to pay my bills. That didn't even include my lifestyle. So I was a train wreck, to put it mildly. But by 2012 and 13, I had paid off 6 figures worth of debt because I did a Chapter 7, not an 11 or 13. So I had to pay some of it back. And anyone who's ever gone through that process before understands the pride that you feel. You finally get to a place where you're not doing drugs, you're not buying ridiculous toys or spending money on things that don't really matter. And now I live a very simple life. I live in about a $500,000 house and I drive a black pickup truck. I don't have any toys. I don't do drugs. And outside of bacon, chocolate, coffee, my family, and loving and supporting small business owners, that's my life to this extent. So I have laid awake, like some of you probably have in the last month, thinking, man, do I really want to take on $300,000-$400,000 worth of debt? I still have the loan money they gave me last year because my business has rebounded and we're about to launch Small Biz Inc., which is going to be a monster home run. So I'd lay awake and I was just nauseous about the idea that I was taking on such a large amount of debt after I worked so hard to pay my old debts off. So I get this phone call this morning from my loan officer. Not the same one I had last year, not the ones I communicate with now. Very, very nice guy. Was not trying to screw me, had no idea who I was, totally played it by the book. And he said, hey, sir, I just wanted to inform you that I'm going to be unable to approve your loan modification. And the strangest feeling came over me. A knot in my stomach went away. I was relieved. And I was perplexed by the relief. But then this voice, I call it God, you may call it something else, said, you didn't need the damn thing anyway. Why were you going to go $300,000 or $400,000 in debt when you don't need the money? Because chances are, even though I'm going to work with Ben Cardin to get the damn thing forgiven, we're going to have to pay back at least some of it. So my soul, every fiber of my being, was so relieved when he told me I was declined. But then it became curiosity. So I said, okay, can I ask why that is? He said, well, you fall outside what's called our 25% variance rate. And here it is in simple terms. What you put on your application last year when you filled out the Eidl loan application, you had to put down what your gross revenue was, right? They were taking our word for almost everything. We didn't have to supply documents like we do now. So I did an estimate because I didn't do my taxes yet. I applied on April 1st. My taxes didn't get done till a couple of weeks later, right before the deadline. So I estimated, instead of checking my bank statements, which was a huge mistake, what my 2019 revenue was going to be. I came in at 27% away. So here's a simple example. If my revenue was 100,000, and that's just an example, I came in at 73,000. 73? Yes, 73,000 on my 4506T. You have to be inside that zone of 75 to 100. So simply put, whatever you put is your revenue for 2020 estimation. If your 4506T that they just pulled is not within 25%, it's an automatic decline. I said, what if it was 25.2%? He had a supervisor that was sitting there with him. He said, even if it's 25.0001, we are not allowed to process beyond this point your application. So once again, if you guys made a mistake, whether it was intentional or by accident or both, if what you put in is more than 25% away from what your 4506T says, they're going to automatically decline you. The good news there is, and I'll get to the formula in a second, there is going to be a reconsideration process. I told you guys this weeks ago. Within 72 hours, I'm going to get an email, and it's going to send me to reconsideration. I don't think it could be PDC recons. It may be something else related to the 24 months of working capital. He said, just stand by for that email. You should get it within 2 or 3 days. So I'm going to have a chance to appeal. I thought about this afternoon, and I said, well, look, I don't really want the money. It's cheap money. If you need it, take it. But I don't need the money right now. And I'm about to launch another business that I think is going to be insanely successful. I don't need it. But I may go through the reconsideration process anyway because there is no prepayment penalty. So I can explain to you guys exactly what to expect. And then I'll just send the damn money back. All of it or most of it, I don't know. But I'm probably going to do that process. I'll confirm that in the next couple of days. So you got to be within 25%, the variance rate between what you said your revenues were and what your 4506T says. There will be a reconsideration process. You'll get an email if you're declined like I was within 2 or 3 days. Now on to the blue button. This is my opinion after talking to him. Again, he was very evasive in not giving me concrete details, but this is what I read between the lines. They're calling people that are getting declined. The people that are going to get the automatic approval and then fund now button are within, and this is my opinion now, within the 25% variance, and you got a credit score because they're doing a soft pull at Experian before they call you or reach out to you or approve you. So if you're within 25% and then you got that credit score north of 570 and there's no red flags on your application, I think those people are going to sail through with the automatic approval. But if you're like me and you made the mistake, you did an estimate and you're off by more than 25% between what you said and what your 4506T says, you're going through the reconsideration process. So I don't know if 80% are going to sail through automatically, but it's going to be a huge number because some of you were a lot smarter than I was, and you actually pulled out your bank statements and put down exactly what your 2019 revenue was. But others not only didn't do an estimate, they inflated their numbers. So they're going to automatically get declined. So as frustrating as it is, waiting weeks and months and maybe even half a year or more for some of you in reconsideration, you have to have a tiny ounce. Not with respect to 89,755 funded on the targeted Eidl advance, which is a crime against humanity as far as I'm concerned. But you have to have an ounce, a sliver of understanding with respect to the SBA, given the amount of fraud, whether it's 10%, 20%, or some outrageous claims of 40%. It's there. So they have to verify to some extent who's telling the truth and who's not. So I think they have people scanning 4506Ts against what you put in your application. If you're within 25%, you're going to sail through. If you made the mistake, like I did, and you're outside, you're going to reconsideration. It's an automatic decline. He insisted that it was non-negotiable. But he also told me, as I said on Twitter a few hours ago, the reconsideration process for this is going to be much quicker and more lenient. I said, what do you mean by that? He says, well, prior reconsiderations have taken months. We don't expect that's going to take this long. I said, okay, what's the lenient part about? He goes, well, here's what I would do. When you go through reconsideration, you tell your next loan officer that you made an estimate on your 2019 gross revenue, and because you had done it before you filed your taxes, right? I applied on April 1st. I hadn't done my taxes yet. So you tell them it was an estimate. I have seen them work then on what your 4506T says. So if I said it was 100 grand and it turned out to be 73,000, they'll then do the following formula off the $73,000. The formula for 24 months of working capital is gross revenue minus the cost of goods or services, depending on your business, times 2. Last year, the 6 months of working capital, it was gross revenue minus cost of goods or services divided by 2. This year, 24 months of working capital, it's gross revenue minus cost of goods or services, which for many of you is very small, times 2. So here's an example. If my gross revenue is 100,000 and my cost of goods or services was 10,000, I take the 90,000 times 2 is 180. Well, last year under the formula, 100,000 minus the 10 of cost of goods or services, you take 90,000 divided by 2. Under that scenario, they gave me 45,000. Under the 24 months of working capital, gross revenue minus cost of goods or services times 2, it's 180. So yes, as some of you pointed out on Twitter, they then subtract what they already gave you. So they gave me 45 last year for 6 months of capital. I now qualify under gross revenue minus cost of services times 2 for a total of 180. So you have to take 45 away from 180. And what is that? 135? Yes. So that's what you would get once you get approved. And by the way, he said they're anticipating funding people within 7 to 10 days of them actually approving. So whether you get the blue button or someone calls you and they clarify and they're able to push you through and he says approved, 7 to 10 days after that, that's the goal to get you paid. So one more time real quick, and I appreciate you hanging with me for almost 15 minutes. There is a reconsideration process. Don't fear, don't panic. It's going to be quicker and more lenient. I'm going to go through it, chances are, just to learn the process, even if I send the money back. The formula is gross revenue minus cost of goods or services times 2. That number, you then subtract what they gave you last year. The difference is what you're going to get in a wire transfer within 7 to 10 days of getting approved. And again, the folks that are going to see the blue button, in my humble opinion, are the ones that have within the 25% variant rule. You've got a credit score north of 570 and there's no red flags. That could be as many as half to upwards of 80% of you. We're going to find out more on that, I would imagine, in the next few days to a week. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to some Snickers, some haters out there, snowflakes that get a kick out of me being declined. But I really do believe, at least for me, after my experience coming out of the most horrific time in my entire life and working so hard to pay off my debts and build a few homes, this is the best option for me. So even if I go through and I do the reconsideration process just to share with you my experience, I am totally convinced it's the right thing for me. The good Lord has given me good vibes today. So until next time, enjoy your Cinco de Mayo, no drinking and driving, and thanks for watching. Oh!